Now then, Andre Yaron was just 22 years old when he was diagnosed with a rare form of dementia.
After rapidly deteriorating within a year, Andre went from his chatty and active self to being moved to a care home, unable to walk, and then to a hospice for end-of-life care.
On December the 27th, Andre tragically passed away, becoming one of the youngest people to have died from the disease at just 24. Andre's mum, Sam, stepdad, Alistair, and Andre's consultant, Professor James Rowe, join us now. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much, Sam, for coming in and sharing your story and to tell us all about Andre, because it's still so raw for you all, of course. It was just before the new year when he sadly passed away. Tell us a little bit about Andre. What was he like before his diagnosis?
What was he like? Cheeky, great sense of humour. Just your normal young lad. He liked going out. He liked Xboxing. You know, just your normal chatty lad, great sense of humour, having fun. Yeah.
Lots of mates. Loved his cars as well?
Oh, he loved his cars, he loved his motorbikes, yeah. He worked at Lotus, so you can tell he loved his cars, so, yeah.
So when did you first start to notice any signs, or when did you first see any red flags for you?
I would probably say it was our wedding. Yeah,
right.
Our wedding in November 22. I was more like, you know, I'm going to have to be watching Andre, because if not, he'll have a bit too much to drink and
he'll tuck in into the hospitality, yeah.
But he'd gone home by 9:30, 10:15. He just said, I'm going home, I've had enough, and off he went. So I was a bit like, that's not like him. Just thought maybe the day had got to him. Then it got so every morning he would go to the shop for his drink and he'd come back and he'd forget what he was going for.
So he had a routine, didn't he? Every day he'd go and get the same drink.
Same drink.
He'd come back.
But he would forget what he was going for, or he'd come back with something different, or he could go to the shop 3 or 4 times a day.
And what was it that prompted you to take him somewhere and seek some help or to ask some questions?
He'd had changes in his behaviour, some quite inappropriately. So that was totally out of the norm for Andre. His speech, the way he was talking, and then obviously the forgetting of what he was going to buy. And I'd worked in a day centre with the Maltins, with people with autism, ADHD and all that, and I'd sort of put 2 and 2 together and thought, OK, maybe autism. So I took him to the GP, had the assessments, and, yes, he scored very highly. We went private to get the diagnosis, and, yes, he'd got autism, but there was just still something...
And what was that, just a mum's intuition, really, or something?
Yeah,
because it's so interesting, isn't it, when you go somewhere and you get the news, you kind of want it... You don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But it answers some questions, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, that answered a big lot, but there were still little things like the speech, because I knew his speech was gradually declining, which I knew didn't happen with autism. So or, you know, some people it does, but it's just, mum's intuition that...
And then in the end you got an MRI?
Yes, we went back to the GP, they sent us for an MRI scan, and then that's when we got the news that he'd got frontal atrophy, and the consultant said if he didn't know the scan he was looking at, he thought it was sort of like a 70-year-old that had got dementia.
Goodness me.
Wow.
I mean, I can't begin to imagine, so what's that like for the two of you? This young, vibrant, vital young man with his whole life ahead of him.
I mean, no, total shock. Absolutely total shock. You know, it's... 1 minute he's fine, and then next, oh, what's wrong with him? You know, it's... You know, terrible.
Yeah.
And that prognosis, Professor James, it's an extraordinary thing to hear Sam describe it with such clarity, but to understand that at such a young age, to have the brain, when it was looked at, looking like it could be a 70-year-old brain.
Yes, I mean, so Sam and Alistair, they're the real experts on this. They've lived with this day in, day out over the last 3 or 4 years, and they've described it really well. And it's very clear on the scan, the changes in the brain. Not all parts of the brain, but the front and the side bits that govern behaviour and language. And they've put it, you know, really clearly. It was... Andre was just out of character. These weren't traits he'd had in childhood as he grew into a man. This was something new and different. It just felt wrong, and I think you were right to trust your instincts.
Do we know why he was more susceptible to it at such a young age?
So we do know. So about 1 in 10 people with dementia have a young onset dementia of working age. So Andre was the youngest person I have seen, it's fair to say, but many people have a youngish onset, and most of those would have frontotemporal dementia. And that brings with it, in some people, the risk of a faulty gene. And in Andre's case, it was a faulty gene that's showed up in adulthood, not in his upbringing, but he got through normal childhood, developed into really, happy, bright young man, and then the gene kicked in and damaged the front parts of the brain.
So if it's genetic, Sam, does it exist in your family, or...?
Not that I know of.
Right.
I've gone back and I can't think of anybody who's had it. Nowhere.
OK.
No traces of it anywhere.
The really, really sad thing is that the deterioration was so fast, wasn't it? So from getting the clear diagnosis, how fast did it develop?
So we got the actual diagnosis from James June 2024, wasn't it? Yes, just before his 23rd birthday. He'd lost a lot of his speech then. He was just making lots of woos, which you could hear from your office.
And he was walking about everywhere.
Yeah, pacing. So from that, 2024, to going into his first care home in September last year, he walked in very, very slowly, but he still walked. And then within a month, he was in a wheelchair and being hoisted.
And then he got poorly, didn't he? He got an infection.
He got an infection the beginning of December, which unfortunately he had to go into hospital. He spent 3 weeks in hospital. We thought at the beginning his not eating and drinking was due to the infection, because ourselves, if we're poorly, we don't want to eat and drink. And then we got the devastating news, that he was on end of life.
Yeah. And then when did you lose him?
He went into the hospice the Thursday before Christmas, was it? Yeah, the Thursday before Christmas, and then he passed away on the 27th of December.
So boring.
Sorry.
Don't say sorry, Sam. It's amazing that you'll share it for us. I think one of the things that was lovely, though, Alistair, that when you got the diagnosis, you put a bucket list together, didn't you?
Yes.
For him to try. What sort of things did you put on, and what sort of things did you manage to do?
Well, we managed to get him. He loved drifting, and we went to a place in Kingston.
For anyone that doesn't know, essentially that's skidding round corners in really fast cars. It's great.
I mean,
he's a naughty little one.
A few times until he couldn't get into the car.
He couldn't get in.
Or couldn't get out.
Shrek's Adventure.
Shrek's Adventure, that was a biggie.
Oh, there's a picture of him in his drift car.
Yeah. So you were able to bring some of those amazing dreams of his to life, to really make those last.
The one thing we didn't do is Euro Disney.
Disneyland Paris, that was the last one.
Yeah, he didn't make it, I'm afraid.
Well, look, the thing that you did do, Sam, which is extraordinary, and James will talk to you about this, is you donated his brain.
Oh, wow, what a legacy.
I mean, and it's an extraordinary thing to do for any parent that has lost a child to be willing to donate an organ of any sort for somebody else, but this is for research as well. What sort of a difference, James, does it make?
This is an incredible gift and legacy that will have a huge impact on research. Frontotemporal dementia, it's such a human illness. It changes who we are as a person, social relationships, language, communication, very human things, and we have to understand what's happening in humans. This is not something that we can see in a cell or a mouse in a dish in a lab. We need to understand what's happening in humans and really push for a cure based around this very, very human illness. And brain donation is an incredible part of that.
And this is something that can make real... I mean, in a way where cancer treatments have improved and different kind of elements of different diseases have improved, but this one, we really need to do more research.
And we know that research gets results.
Yes.
We just know that's a fact. Investment in research, this effort with families, with people like Andre himself in his lifetime with family support, we know that research gets results. It's just how fast we can get that progress to a cure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know where there's faulty genes. For other genes of frontotemporal dementia, there were already new treatments in humans in clinical trials trying to neutralise that faulty gene to switch off the illness. We're not quite there for this particular gene, but it's in sight.
Yeah, we had Dr. Kath on actually the other day. And he was talking about the blood prick, the blood test, and how that was making real kind of headway.
Progress, yes.
These sorts of things, parents and families that are brave and courageous and willing to let their loss be somebody else's gain, the legacy of that is amazing. I think his funeral's at the end of this month.
It is, yes, his farewell.
Farewell.
Yeah.
And there's plans to have a big procession.
Big plans.
Yes, that wasn't the actual plan to start off with.
Explain what was the idea.
So in my thinking, in my wisdom, like I do, I was like, I'll just put a little post out on social media, a couple of the local notice boards. If we could get 10 or 12 cars, the drift team had said they would bring some, but I thought if we could get, you know, 5 or 10 more, that would be
lovely, amazing.
And it turns out it could be 150 plus cars and motorbikes going to be following. So yes, it's, and he would love it. He would find it absolutely hilarious that all these were there for him.
Turned out just to celebrate his life.
Incredible. He was a big, charming, funny man. It would be, this is such a,
smashing.
A very fitting tribute.
Yes, definitely.
It'll be lovely. Thank you both for coming in.
You're welcome.
What an amazing
Thank you for having
legacy.
us.
Yeah,
Thank you for chatting.
So honest with us as well.
and so soon too.
Yeah,
Thank
Professor James, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.